All right, get ready because today we are diving into a career that's about to make your happy hour a lot more interesting.
Yeah, should be fun.
You guys sent us some really cool stuff from RoleCatcher
Hmm.
about a job most people probably haven't even heard of, a yeast distiller.
Definitely not your average 9 to 5.
And honestly, before we dug into this, we didn't even know it existed. It's like
Yeah.
the hidden science behind our favorite drinks. So, to start us off, what exactly is a yeast distiller?
So basically, you know all those complex flavors you taste in, like a good whiskey or a gin?
Oh, yeah.
They're the ones carefully teasing that alcohol out of the yeast.
I never really thought about it like that. Those tiny little organisms are kind of the unsung heroes of the party then, huh?
You could say that. And according to RoleCatcher, it is not as easy as, just tossing some yeast in and hoping
Yeah.
for the best.
Oh, I'm sure. So what makes it so tricky?
It's all about precision. These yeast distillers are like, I don't know, conductors of an orchestra, except instead of instruments, they're fine-tuning temperatures, getting those yeast quantities exactly right.
Sounds pretty high pressure.
Yeah, even a tiny temperature change, like a fraction of a degree, can totally change the flavor.
Wow, no room for error there. So it's a lot more involved than it sounds. They're not just distilling, they're also what? Doing quality control, probably fixing stuff that breaks down, right?
Oh, for sure. And working with other teams, too, like the marketing folks, the sales team. It's a whole operation.
So you need some serious people skills on top of all that science. This is starting to sound like a job with some real transferable skills.
100%.
So we've established that this isn't some cushy desk job, right?
Definitely not.
Paint us a picture. What's it actually like in a distillery? Is it all like copper pipes and barrels?
Well, I mean, there's that, but imagine. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's hot, crazy humid, and the air is, well, it's got that yeasty smell, that grain smell. Really depends what they're making.
Okay, so a little more intense than your average office. What about the sound? Is it quiet and focused?
Not exactly, haha. There's machinery going, steam. I've even heard of some places playing music just to keep things lively.
Sounds kind of chaotic, but you're telling me amidst all that, you still need that pinpoint accuracy.
Oh yeah, for sure. These yeast distillers, they're all about the details. They keep meticulous records, constantly checking on everything, making tiny tweaks that make a huge difference. It's like a science, but also kind of an art.
Right, like one tiny mistake could ruin the whole batch.
Exactly.
RoleCatcher actually breaks down a yeast distiller's career into three main levels. Could you walk us through those? What does that journey look like?
So first up, you start as an apprentice.
Okay, like a real old school apprenticeship.
Yeah, pretty much. Tons of hands-on learning. You're shadowing the pros, learning all the tricks of the trade, even doing some of the less glamorous stuff.
Like,
Yeah, cleaning equipment, that sort of thing.
yeah,
But it's all part of the process, right?
I guess so. Got to pay your dues. You learn the science, but also how to actually do it, all the practical skills.
Exactly. Then as you get better, become more independent, you move up to junior distiller.
All right, time to shine. So what kind of challenges would they face?
It's a lot of problem solving. RoleCatcher gave this example. A pump broke down mid-fermentation.
Oh no, that's the worst time.
Total nightmare. But this junior distiller, they kept their cool, figured out the issue, got things back on track, and they saved the whole batch. Talk about thinking on your feet.
That's amazing. Okay, so you've mastered troubleshooting, honed your craft. You're basically a yeast whisperer. Now, what's the next step? Like the top of the yeast distilling world.
That would be the senior yeast distiller. At that level, you're the mentor, the leader, you're innovating, not just overseeing everything, but making the whole system better. You're also training new distillers, working with everyone, making sure things are running, smoothly.
Love it. You're
Yeah.
using all that technical know-how, but also your people skills. You're really leading the charge.
For sure, it all comes together at that point.
So I gotta ask, do you need like a super advanced degree to even think about becoming a yeast distiller?
It's funny you mentioned that because
Yeah.
RoleCatcher actually highlights how important on-the-job training is.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, a science background can be a good foundation,
Makes sense.
but a lot of distillers, they say some of the best they know, they learned by actually doing it, starting from the bottom.
Wow, so it's more about passion and experience than having a fancy piece of paper.
Absolutely. And the coolest thing is this field is always changing, new tech, new techniques.
It's always evolving.
Yeah. Like even the yeast strains are constantly being refined. So being a yeast distiller means you're always learning.
That's actually really cool. And speaking of learning, we've been focusing on yeast and distilling, but it's used in way more than just booze,
Oh my
right?
gosh, yeah. It's in so much stuff, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Like what? What else?
Well, you've got your food, obviously, like bread,
Right. Yeah.
beer, cheese, but it gets even wilder. Pharmaceuticals use it. Yeah, biofuels, even some cosmetics.
Seriously, yeast is having a moment.
It's a little amazing, isn't it?
So learning this stuff could really open up a lot of different career paths, not just making whiskey.
Exactly. It's like a secret door to all sorts of possibilities.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about the science, the hands-on skills, the surprising versatility. But what about those less obvious skills, the stuff you don't really think about that are important for a yeast distiller?
Well, RoleCatcher really emphasized analytical thinking and problem solving.
Yeah, because yeast is alive, right? It's not like just mixing ingredients. It can probably go wrong pretty easily.
Exactly. It's a living thing, so you constantly have to be watching those variables, making decisions on the fly to keep things on track.
Sounds intense. So what about those top-level yeast distillers, the ones running the show? What skills do they need?
At that point, people management becomes huge. Leading teams, working across departments.
Making sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, and sometimes even being the face of the brand, teaching people about what they're drinking.
Now that's a cool job. But let's be real, automation is everywhere these days, probably in distilleries too. How is tech changing things for yeast distillers?
It's a great question. And the answer is kind of, well, it's complicated.
How so?
There's definitely more automation, like computerized systems, even robots doing some tasks.
Whoa, robots.
Yeah, but the thing to remember is these are just tools.
To make things more efficient.
Right. They help the human distillers do their jobs even better, but they can't replace them entirely.
So it's about learning to work alongside the tech, not being afraid of being replaced by it.
Exactly. The best yeast distillers in the future, they'll be the ones who can use those advancements to their advantage.
So cool. And you know what's even more interesting? RoleCatcher says the demand for yeast distillers is actually growing.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Like people are really starting to appreciate craft distilling, those unique flavors. And you can't get that from a machine?
Definitely not. There's a real artistry to it.
It's awesome that in this world of tech and automation, there's still a need for those handcrafted human skills.
Totally agree.
So next time you're enjoying a really nice drink, think about the people who made it happen, the skill and the passion.
Cheers to that.
And maybe ask yourself, how will all this automation shape the future of yeast distilling?
No.
Will it still be about those human senses, those nuances that a machine can't replicate?
No, that's something to think about.
This has been an amazing deep dive. I had no idea. There was so much to learn about yeast distilling.
It's a fascinating field.
For sure. Until next time, everyone, keep those questions coming and keep diving deep.